bird! It's a plane! It's
the Bitchspot Report. Welcome to the Bitchspot Report, the conservative atheist podcast that's not afraid to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Every week, your hosts, Cephus and Mike, will take on the latest religious and political news and examine the world around us from a distinctly conservative and skeptical perspective. Join us now for this episode of the Bitchspot Report. Welcome once again to another thought-provoking episode of the Bitchspot Report. We're your hosts, Cephus and Mike, and we invite you to spend a while with us while we talk about atheism, skepticism, politics, and religion, all from a distinctly conservative perspective. So how's life going this week?
Life is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Bright sunshiny days. I'm a happy person.
Yeah, I'm not quite as happy as you, but we'll kind of get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, I mean, for people who don't know, and since you haven't been in one of these yet, we have a segment that is essentially anything that's really pissed you off this week. And I got something that is really, and it's not just this week, it's kind of an ongoing thing, but I'm just really fuming about this, and I'm gonna go in and let people have it with both barrels and just be done with it. But like I said, we will get to that in just a second. Now, I realize that there's a little fundamental difference between self-professed atheists and self-professed theists. There's no guarantee that either group is going to be wholly rational or wholly irrational. But there's a part of me that really wishes that atheists were just better people in general, especially when it comes to being critical of their own beliefs. It just smacks me in the face every time when I find someone who's an atheist, yet is just as credulous, just as gullible, just as emotionally swayed by unsupported claims outside religion as theists are within it. That happened to me once again this week, and I want to rant about it. See, we've talked about atheism and skepticism on this show before, and I'm quickly coming to realize that skepticism is infinitely more important than atheism. In fact, it may be something I spend a great deal of time focusing on in the near future because it's something that I see so many atheists failing miserably at. So what do you think about that?
I think that's a fair statement. Definition of a skeptic is someone who doesn't believe in religion or has a disbelief in God, that type of thing.
Well, no, skepticism doesn't just have to do with a belief or disbelief in God. Skepticism, for lack of a better term, is a personal relationship with reality. It's requiring that claims be backed up by evidence, that everything be justified, that everything be validated, that it's important to believe what is actually true instead of just what is emotionally comfortable. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people are actually having.
So the two are interlinked, but you know what? I do see, you're kind of seeing the schism in the atheist skepticism realm between the two. I don't understand it, to be perfectly honest. I've been trying to figure out what's the big deal. I mean, if you don't believe in God, what are you believing in if you, well, and I don't want to make it sound like science is a belief. It's a fact-based method to understand our surroundings, our world. But why is there this disconnect where I don't even know of any good examples?
Well, I'll give you the one that brought this up.
Cool.
So the story is this. Over on Google+, somebody brought up the Ron Lindsay mess from the Women in Skepticism 2 conference. The CFI has basically said that nothing's going to come out of it, and I think that's the right decision. But now Rebecca Watson is bitching and whining and moaning about it and saying she's walking away from CFI. Okay, adios, bitch. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. However, The comment on Google Plus wondered if anyone was really surprised that it happened, once again, just before TAM. I said I wasn't. Rebecca Watson's just a drama queen anyhow. She's skilled at telling lies and making up stories to feed her agenda. And that's when I started getting flack from someone who claimed that her elevator gate story was true. So I asked for evidence. And he said, well, he didn't have any, and he didn't need any. Now, isn't the first rule of being skeptical to always demand evidence? Just because it's in support of an agenda that you like, shouldn't you want to know if this story is actually true? But this guy is convinced that not only does he not have to ask for any evidence for it, it's just magically true because he wants it to be. How is that any different from religion? And now this asshole is issuing physical threats against me because I don't buy into his stupid agenda. And this is the problem that we keep having. These people are not skeptics. These people are just idiots. They're as religious as the religious while stamping an atheist label on themselves. I don't get this crap.
Well, I went through some, I was trying to read through it, through the thread, and I want to say, I know the guy. I've actually been on a hangout with him, and he seems like a cool guy. I mean, he doesn't seem like the type of guy to get to do death threats. I mean, or threatening violence. So that's my position, my personal position. I mean, I don't know what he did down the road, but I do agree that you need to be clear that, if you're making a statement like, yeah, I believe that Rebecca Watson was accosted on that elevator, I really would like to know, did that really happen? You can't say that it happened. He can't say it happened. I can't say it. All it is between Rebecca and the guy in the elevator. So for me, when I do my podcast and I look at it, that's the type of evidence I got to throw out because I don't have anything to say, yes, this happened. I want a fact that, yeah, Rebecca Watson and John Doe 3 was the guy that made the comments. You just can't say, hey, I believe Rebecca Watson. Yeah, maybe you could if your personal feelings is that she's honest and that type of thing. But I don't think she's that honest. I think she's she's self-serving. She's definitely she's got an agenda, and it's she's been trying to. Not that feminism is a bad thing to promote, but I think she's going about it the wrong way. She's trying to make it out that women are victims, and there's some truth to that, but I don't want to be totally dismissive of that. But she's definitely keep pushing, and she's finding, and I guess it's the other skeptics that have also contributed to this in other events or other situations after that. So there's something going on there, but just to blindly say that Rebecca Watson was accosted in that elevator, we have no proof whatsoever that actually happened.
Right. Well,
it's her word against everyone else.
It's her word against her word.
Yeah.
Whether or not the story is true or not is largely irrelevant. It's not a big deal, but it does speak to her credibility. And she's outright refused to identify the guy who propositioned her, and he hasn't come forward. So we really have a story told by one person who is involved that has no validation whatsoever. Does that make her a liar? No, not necessarily, but it also doesn't make her all that truthful. You cannot verify it one way or the other.
Right.
And the problem is that nobody's been able to produce evidence for any of the sexist activity that they claim happens at these atheist conferences. There hasn't been at all.
There was the Cardgate.
The only one you've got is Cardgate, but that wasn't sexist because it was a couple coming to ask for sex. It wasn't just a guy coming on to a girl. So there's no sexism there at all. So we throw that out. Any of the others are completely unvalidated. But they're basing their entire bitching and whining around those events that they can't prove were even ever happened. And the biggest problem is we have to look at this from the side of skepticism. And skepticism, borrowing from the scientific method, requires that we verify everything. Scientists don't just get to verify the experiments that they happen to, feel like it. It doesn't matter if it's your best friend who made the scientific claim. It's your job as a scientist to verify, to repeat, to do the experiment over, to verify that it was done right the first time and that you came out with the same results. That's the basis of skepticism. And these people apparently don't get this shit.
Right. I agree with that. I mean, the Cardgate thing, that was inappropriate behavior. I mean, at any kind of conference, and I want to make sure everyone understands. I don't condone, if this stuff is true, I don't condone this stuff. I mean, this is inappropriate behavior if this really did happen, if this stuff really happened, so the cynic in me is saying, yeah, this is all part of a propaganda campaign to elevate this issue. And I'm also of the opinion that this does happen at these conferences, but you got to do it with facts. This guy did this to this person, and I mean, I've read some articles where that has happened. Women have gone to the people that run it and says, hey, this person is bothering me. And apparently they didn't deal with it the right way, and then of course that got blown out of proportion on top of it. So it's, there's this weird. I mean, the whole issue is so weird. I don't even know if I should have an opinion on it.
But even there, we're still not seeing the kind of validation that I would insist on. We haven't seen multiple independent eyewitnesses who verify that this event actually happened. Sure, I've seen women who say, I was harassed at a convention, and I went to the convention staff and said, hey, this happened, and they ignored me. Okay, well, I want to see the side of the convention staff who actually verifies that they came to them and reported this incident, instead of this person just going home and blogging on their blog saying, oh, isn't it so horrible that this convention didn't take care of this problem that I conveniently didn't really ask them about. That's a problem, and I keep seeing this. And we as skeptics need to be skeptical of all these things. I mean, my biggest problem with this whole thing is that we have a bunch of people who, if they were debating a theist, they would be demanding evidence for every claim that the theist makes. And they should be. But as soon as it gets away from religion, these people are acting using the exact same belief systems, the exact same methods, the exact same everything that the theists use, that they criticize the theists for using. These people have what can only be termed faith.
Right.
And you point that out to them, and they react the exact same way that the theists act. And they don't see the disconnect. There's cognitive dissonance where they can't understand that they're doing all the things that they criticize in others, and then they get pissed off when you point out that they're doing all the things that they criticize in others.
Yeah. Well, actually, that kind of reminds me. There's a website. It's what is it? Psycop. It's not Psycop, but it's this PSYCOP. It's a site that's actually set up to criticize skeptics, and this site is of course critical of the. I mean, it's the same stuff we accuse the pseudoscience. We accuse the theists and all that, accusing us of the same tactics. It's kind of the same thing, and I'm kind of amazed that no one's gone after these guys. It's a site. It seems to be active, and hey, wait a minute, we're the ones with the facts. You get this site, and it's big on the real woo stuff, like Deepak Chopra type stuff, and the whole gamut there. I don't think anyone's really gone after them. I've been trying to figure out a way to go after them. To be honest, I don't want to stir that hornet's nest just yet, type of thing. I want to have my facts together on that. But it's like, I mean, as skeptics, are we guilty of the same stuff that we're accusing the other side? You know, are we as guilty as they are? You know, faulty logic, and like in this thread you're talking about, yeah, there was definitely some guilt there because, you know, he was taking for face value. Now, you know, in the skeptics, they like to use consensus. You know, the consensus believes Rebecca Watson, so it's kind of maybe a safe haven for him to say, yeah, I'm going to go with the consensus. So, I mean, we're the ones kind of, I mean, it's up to us. We're making the outrageous claims that she's just has an agenda. I mean,
the problem is there really isn't a consensus. The only consensus that she's telling the truth is on her side. There have been questions from day one whether or not this was actually a valid claim or whether or not this was an actual event that happened. So consensus isn't necessarily a good way to go. And let's be real honest. You know, if you're looking for consensus, the consensus of humans in the United States is that there's a God. Well, we don't take that one seriously, do we? There is no question whatsoever that she has an agenda. The rumor kind of going around why she was pushing to get Ron Lindsay kicked off the CFI. Now, this is a rumor. I'm going to say I've not seen anything to confirm this, so take this with a gallon of salt. That she or one of a short list of other feminists wanted to take over running the CFI. Now, that's absurd because they would never, ever allow that to happen. But that was kind of her goal, was to get him thrown out to open the position up so that she or somebody else, somebody of her ilk, could take over.
Right. I sort of saw that rumor. I'm like, Rebecca Watson in that, you know, no way. You know, it was so far out there, you know, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there as a rumor. It's not confirmed. Mm-hmm. It's not, you know, I'm not suggesting that it's true. But, right. Jesus, if you watch these people, to be perfectly honest, a lot of these radical feminists, I've started to identify these people as locusts. I mean, they're here to feed. They have no vested interest in atheism. I mean, these people they're feminists first and atheists a distant second. And when they've sucked down every last morsel from the atheist community, they're just going to move on to another group because a lot of those people came from other groups. You know, these are not people who were here in the atheist community for a long time and then adopted feminist views. These are people who were feminists elsewhere and came here because, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think just a skeptical movement. I mean, to me, the skeptical movement is this, we can see past racism. Again, history has been, you know, it hasn't been kind to women, minorities, that type of thing. And here in the skeptical movement, we've gone past that. I like to think in a way we're kind of liberal when it comes to the, you know, or at least sounding liberal as far as race relations, women's relations. I mean,
no, they're not. They're not beyond racism, and they're not beyond sexism.
No, what I'm trying to say is that the skeptical movement should be, or it should be, you know, and it's what it sounds, and it's what it sounds like to me, and what it should be. But then you'll get the, you know, and I want to say, I'm going to call them, I mean, I just finished reading the psychopath test. I think there's psychopaths out there, and, you know, in the book Psychopath Test, psychopath is not you know, like a mass murderer. I mean, this could be, CEOs. I mean, this could be, you know, people who can get things done, basically. And they have no empathy. They just want to be leaders. They want to be leaders. They want to be followed. Kind of like a David Koresh type. They want people to follow them. They want to, you know, that type of thing. We're always going to have those people in this type of movement. That's what these people may very well be. They may be just psychopaths, you know, in this general term, not the bad, you know, in a bad way. And they need to bring if they're convinced that men are bad type of attitude, or, whatever, white Americans are bad, white men are bad. That's going to be, that's what they want. And, that has no room in the skeptical movement. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that shouldn't.
Right.
You can sit down and say all you want that these people are, pro civil rights, pro equality, pro everything, but you just have to look at what they're saying, and they're not. I mean, these people have, if you go back to Richard Dawkins and his Dear Muslima thing, they will attack anybody who is wealthy, white, or male. They'll go right after you. And these are people, if you go and read the Atheism Plus forums, I mean, I've seen things in there where, there are people who absolutely want to kill white men. And you can get out to the really crazy radicals who want to, make men 10% of the population and use them as sex toys. Those people I would agree, those people are just out of their frickin' minds. But we have these people who they're getting traction in the movement, and I don't understand it. I mean, it's a good example of why I don't even want to be part of the damn movement anymore. It's just infighting and dick waving and nonsense.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going on and on and on. And these people, the second that you challenge any of their preconceived notions, like the guy on Google Plus, he's out there making threats, going, somebody should go kick your ass and all this other stuff. That's not how rational people debate. We're supposed to be skeptical of everything, not just religion.
Right.
And these people are skeptical only of religion. They're not skeptical of anything else. I wouldn't be surprised to find these people out there being anti-vaxxers and UFO nuts and all the rest of this garbage.
I mean, that happens. I mean, that I know people who have a strong science background, and they should know better, but then, God, some of the weird stuff they believe, I know there's this, I heard about it, I won't give out, I try not to give too many names out here, but this person I know told me about a dental hygienist who believes that AIDS was caused by when two sperms collide, and that creates an AIDS. That's what she believes. It's like she went to medical school to learn, I don't know how they train dental hygienists. I'm sure there's some type of college involved. But then she believes that, this stuff, I mean, people will believe whatever they want to believe. And I'm wondering if that's what Jamie Ian Smith was going about, where skeptics talk.
Right.
He's like, you're atheist, you're expert at dealing with atheism and fighting. That's great. More power to you. We're skeptics. We deal with science. That's our expertise. I mean, I like to think of myself as a skeptic and an atheist. I think mentioned this before. That's why I like doing this show, just to be atheist. I do my other podcast to be a skeptic, and I like to keep those two kind of separate. So just so I'm not muddying my head up with, well, I'm an atheist, and no, I don't believe in God. I think the Christian religion and all religions are bullshit. It's just praying to this imaginary sky monster. I keep using that. When I'm doing the skeptical stuff, I'm like, I got my books, here's, in such and such book, they say this, this happened at this date in history, that type of thing. In a way, keeping those separate, but, I don't see bringing the two together other than using the two to support each other. I can use my skepticism to support my atheism to support my skepticism, but the two shouldn't blend together. When you see the Rebecca Watsons, they want to blend feminism with skepticism, with atheism, or trying to blend these together instead of saying, hey, I'm a feminist, I'm an atheist. Neither of the two shall meet. That's what their attitude should be. But again, and then this is where I'm beginning. That's why I lean toward, your contention that it's part of it's an agenda to bring more people, or to access more people, more like-minded people to the feminist cause. That's why I think that's what I think her agenda really is. She's a feminist. I'll hit the atheist crowd. I'll hit the skeptic crowd. Because she did it to everybody. I mean, she did it to Tam and the skeptics. She's done it to here with CFI. She's doing it to the atheists.
Yeah.
And that's why I lean toward believing that she's got a bigger agenda than just being a pain in the ass. I mean, we're all pain in the asses. I mean, because we believe this stuff. We believe this. We feel deep in our hearts this is the right thing. If we can get rid of religion, we can get rid of all the terrible things that have been done by religion, under the guise of religion. I mean, no more holy wars, no more pedophile priests, no more of this stuff. If we can get rid of this, and I think this world, we believe that the world would be a better place without this stuff. From the scientific skeptical side, if we can show the world and say, hey, we live in a beautiful world. There's nothing wrong with it being random. I mean, I think it's cool that we came out of randomness and proving that evolution's a fact. Everything that goes with science. So your acupuncture and all these other weird medicine, the alternative medicine can go away. The conspiracy people, get them to go away. And again, that would be a better world for us, that we don't have the Alex Jones telling us that what we just saw on TV is fake. I think we'd be in a much better place. We can move forward without this. It's like a yoke on our neck. Religion's a yoke on our neck. Conspiracy's a yoke on our neck. If we can't if we can't shake this yoke off, we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep committing these atrocities against minorities and stuff like that. We don't need to be fighting amongst, the feminists. I know there's those, those feminazis, I guess, probably the best term for them. I mean, I've heard about what they've done. Men are bad, that type of thing. We don't need that, and if that's what Watson is promoting, that there's no way I can support anything like that.
Yeah, well, the problem is skepticism leads to all the things that we're supposedly trying to do. Skepticism gets rid of religion. Skepticism gets rid of pseudoscience. It gets rid of conspiracy theories. It gets rid of all of that. But what it also gets rid of is racism and sexism. Because the more skeptically and rationally we look at the claims for why we should be sexist or racist, the more ridiculous those claims actually look. They don't stand up to a critical evaluation. And we don't need to be emotional about these things. We need to be skeptical and critical. So we really need to be aiming to have everybody skeptical of everything. And that's the problem that I'm seeing, is we've got so many people who are skeptical of one thing or two things, and everything else, they're out there playing with their crystals and, sleeping inside pyramids and doing all this other crap.
Right.
Because they don't know how to apply skepticism to everything. And so many of these people are just taking emotion, and this is exactly what happens in religion. People take something that feels good emotionally, and they just say, well, hell, that's got to be true. And they embrace it wholeheartedly, and they refuse to look at it. What exactly is the difference between some of the things that are going on in the atheist community and some of the things that are going on in churches? What's the difference? I'm not seeing a difference. And when stuff like this Google Plus thing comes up, and that's not the first example of something like that, I can point out a bunch more. But you get people who are just saying, this feels good, therefore I'm going to insist it's true, and I'm not going to ask any questions, and I'm going to attack you for daring to suggest that what I believe is not absolutely factually true. What's the difference?
Right. Having dealt with stuff on the internet, it sucks when you got a question. I mean, I was learning Linux, and I had a question, and this is my first experience with dealing with Linux people. It's like you find a Linux board, you type in a question, and the first answer I get is, read the fucking manual, dumbass. It's like, okay, what did I say wrong? I just asked a question about this this program, and it's on their board, it's on their, and I'm the dumbass, and it's like, why did I even bother? Oh yeah, feel free to ask your questions, when I'd run a bulletin board. And I saw a lot of this kind of stuff. Oh, you're stupid, coming across the messages. And it's like, wait a minute, this guy asked a simple question and you're just calling him a dumbass? It's like, nothing in between either. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
And I think there are those people out there who I think they get off on that,
Well, it's not only just that, but it's like the Atheism Plus forums, and I don't even know if they're still in existence. I haven't looked for a long time. But they used to have, people would go in there and ask honest questions about what they want, what they're trying to do, ask them to back up their claims with evidence, and they would just ban people. And, they would, swear at them up and down and then ban them, because they didn't really want questions. They wanted mindless obedience.
Right.
And
I mean, that's a religion.
That's a religion. But we're not supposed to have a religion here. Atheism isn't a religion. Skepticism isn't a religion. It's supposed to be a way to openly and honestly ask questions to see if these are actually true answers. And they don't want questions. They want obedience.
Yeah, I haven't dealt much with the Atheism Plus. It just sounded so much like, what more can atheism offer? And then started hearing, I've heard the stories like you said, and it's like, oh, okay, then it's not even, I'm not even gonna bother with it because it's stupid. It's like a religion out of atheism, and that ain't right. I mean, it's like, I don't know whose bright idea it was to build an atheist monument or a church or something, or some kind of a building.
Yeah.
It's like, dudes, that's not what we're about.
Yeah. They built the atheist church in England, and then they've got the atheist political party. It's like, guys, what the hell is wrong with you people?
It's like my mom's attitude toward the Red Hat ladies. I don't know. Are you familiar with them or?
No, but
okay. There was this poem. It's a really nice poem about a woman growing old and deciding, hey, I don't have to put makeup anymore. I don't have to impress anybody anymore. So I'm going to put on a purple dress and a red hat. It's really not, just kind of a story of freedom. It's of liberation. And it was a very popular, I don't know how it got spread around. But now you got these ladies it was a story about nonconformity. But these women, all of them, they put on purple dresses, red hats, and then they meet, they have like these organized meetings, they got clubs, they've got, it's all organized. And it's like, my mom's like, it totally defeats the reason of the poem. This poem is about freedom, it's about independence, it's about nonconformity. And they've taken this and turned it into this conformist ritual. It's like they totally missed the point of the poem, and that's my mom's beef with this. It's like, and I agree. It's like atheism is I think it's viable. It's legitimate. I mean, if we have to make a choice, I would guess if between me and you, I mean, we would have, if we had choices, we could have easily chose a religion.
And as much as I hate to admit it, even though I was born into it, I did make that choice at one point in time.
But we don't, I know for myself, I don't see the value in being religious. I'm a moral person. I have values. I treat people equally with respect. I mean, I'm sure you do the same thing. And I try to respect people, and I would expect some respect back. But, it's like, but there's these people out there who's like, no, I'm not going to respect your opinion. You're an atheist. You're godless, heathen. You should be, or you have a penis, so you gotta go to the gulag. There's those people with that attitude, and the scary thing is, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it doesn't happen. But, I'm hoping that someone will wake up and says, hey, everybody, you're just being children. And that's really, I think, what someone needs to sit Rebecca down and say, you're acting like a child. you're acting like children. We're adults. We can behave. We can speak to each other with respect.
But they don't want that.
They don't want that. They think, threatening people.
Well, the problem is what you were talking about before, where you were saying that it's all about nonconformity, which is exactly, that has some degree of relevance in the atheist community. And then you've got this little pocket inside of atheism that is demanding absolute conformity. It's like,
right.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Right. It's the people that didn't get the memo, I guess. They're just not getting it. Atheism is a great thing. Why screw it up with politics?
Well, because they don't really give a damn about atheism. They're here for something else.
They're here for the politics. And they can rub some atheism on it and probably then attract I don't want to call them gullible, but they're gullible.
They're all gullible. They are. And, the problem is, as soon as you point out that they are gullible, they're going to attack.
Right. But then again, I would almost expect them to defend that, oh yeah, I'm gullible, but I don't have to take that from, it's like, it's just a goofy dealing with people. They all, being on the internet, and on the bulletin boards, there was all types, and, it's like, yeah, you're going to convince a few. You might get people that says, yeah, good job, Cephus. You were right on. And you're going to get some people who say, oh, you're full of shit, and that's the way this thing is. And it's unfortunate that the wrong people are heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah. I mean, I probably should stop expecting anything rational from atheists. But the problem is if so many atheists are so irrational and so illogical and so religious, for lack of a better word, then how is the movement, again, for lack of a better word, ever going to gain any traction when these people are just screwed up idiots?
Yeah. I think it's more probably important upon those outside of these enclaves of stupidity to point out that, this is the real way. I'm not here to make you turn you into a feminist, skeptical atheist, whatever. I mean, I'm here to promote atheism. We got people out there who are on the fence, who are debating, hey, I'm in a religion, I'm a kind of religious, I'm ready to make a change. Hey, come over here. We're atheists. We don't believe in God. We don't need, here's why. And convince them, because we're trying to convince people to leave their religion. I mean, really, that's what we're trying to convert the converted over to our ideas. And we got to present sane ideas to these people. But if you got somebody out there who wants to commit bodily harm because you disagree with them, that's not serving the cause. Or if you got somebody out there who says, yeah, and you have to vote a certain way, and you have to believe in this, and this, you're not going to convince someone to come over to here. They'll find something else to go to.
Well, welcome to Atheism Plus, because that's exactly what they want.
Right. Well, that's what I'm referring to. There's, you got the Atheism Plus that is trying to be this, here's the rules to be an atheist.
There are no rules. Sorry.
Right. I mean, they want rules. I don't think there should be rules. And I want to welcome, those that are on the religion, who are abandoning their religion to come to my side, because I think they're going to be better served, because then they're not, hammered with dogma. Because that's what they left.
Yeah, unless they're, on the Radfem side, when that's all they get is dogma.
True. But again, it's from the atheist point of view. I mean, just being pure atheist, I really hope that they stay away from Atheism Plus. That's what, because they're basically leaving, they're giving up and going to the same thing. It's just, they have a God, they don't have a God. But it's still the same kind of rules and structure, and this is the only way you can think, and if you don't think this way, then get out. You're an idiot, get out.
Yeah, but you've still got the problem that I think it's very inherent in the atheist movement that skepticism, asking questions, finding reality, justifying claims, all these things are part of what atheism is, part of what the atheism movement is. People who are coming from religions, they're coming from religion because religion isn't real. And then you've got this other organization within atheism that throws all those things out. You can't ask questions. They're not going to prove anything. They don't care if what they believe is true or justifiable or validated. They only care if it makes them feel good, which is exactly the crap that you get in religion. And they can't understand why this is a problem. I don't know. It pisses me off not only to see this kind of crap happening, but then when they turn around and they tell you, well, screw off, this is my faith, and that's essentially what they're saying, this is my faith, screw you, and I'm going to come break your arms, or whatever the hell it is, because, holy crap, what we believe and how we feel is much, much, much more important than actually being demonstrably right. Well, this is going to piss me off for a while, I can tell.
That's the one thing I hate about when I do get into a discussion on the internet is that I get so wound up. I mean, I really do. I mean, it's like, God, this guy's an idiot. We're talking about when they found, they found what they think was the nails to the crucifixion nails.
Again?
Well, this was a couple of years ago, maybe. They had found in a tomb they suspect they were Jesus's crucifixion, the real ones. They were like, I don't know if it was one of the rabbis or whatever they were at the time. It was in the tomb that oversaw that period where Jesus would have been crucified, and they found these nails. And the guy, he's the Canadian. He does the Naked Archaeologist. Jacobi. He's a journalist, but he does a lot of biblical archaeology articles or shows. And he's the one who presented the story to the world. And I remember early on, in his crucifixion show on the Naked Archaeologist, that these nails that were being used by the Romans at that time were very expensive. They were they were hard to get. So after crucifixion, they pull the nails out and save them for the next time around. There was that rare case where they did find a ankle with a nail through it, but the nail had bent around, so they couldn't pull the nail out, so they just buried the guy with the nail in it. So I made the comment that here's the guy who said that these nails would have been recovered and reused again for other crucifixions. Now he's saying that, no, people kept them or stored them away. And this guy goes, well, couldn't they just gone down to the store and got more? And I'm like, you just didn't get the point, dumbass. That's not what I said. I didn't say anything like that. I said that the same guy that said that they saved the nails and they used them over and over again is now saying that, yeah, now they're keeping them, they're decorations in a tomb or whatever he said about it. But the guy didn't get it. It's like, and I was like, I want to write back and tell this guy he's a dumb fuck. And I go, you know what? No, I won't. It's not worth it. It's not worth going through the
Well, it's not like they'll listen anyway. They won't understand what you say.
Right. Because they couldn't understand what I said the first time around, which I thought was pretty clear, It's like, my first podcast, I did the 1919 Black Sox scandal and the trial of Clay Shaw. Clay Shaw was the guy that was accused of being a conspirator in the assassination of Kennedy. And I talked about the history behind the Black Sox scandal. I told the history about Clay Shaw and all the funniness that went on there. And my first review on iTunes was, so is this guy skeptical of other crimes? I'm like, where did you get this? The idea for that show was to demonstrate a real conspiracy versus a fake conspiracy, because the Clay Shaw was bad evidence, all that kind of stuff, and the poor guy, his career was destroyed because of this trial. Where did he get? And then, is he in the comment? And you can probably see it if you go to my iTunes. Yeah, is he skeptical of other crimes like murder, rape, that type of thing? And I'm like, dude, did you even listen to my show?
Of course not.
It's like, dude, you're a dumbass. You didn't listen to it. I thought when I did my conclusion, it's like, I explained, I wanted to demonstrate, we do have real conspiracies out there. Because I wanted to make sure people understand I'm not discounting all conspiracies. Real stuff has happened out there. People have gotten together to commit crimes. In other cases, it's just that there's the conspiracies without evidence. The 9/11 is a classic one. There's so much we know, but there's so much stuff these guys have made up that's totally fake. It's like, that's what I'm getting at. I'm going after the bullshit ones, but I want you to understand, I do understand that there are real conspiracies out there, but this guy just didn't get it. And actually, I think a lot of people don't get it. It's like, I'm just pointing out, I've done the research. Here's what I found. And I've done shows on chemtrails. I've done the Pearl Harbor conspiracies, all these different conspiracies, there's a lot of BS out there. And then it's like, then you get somebody like, is he skeptical about, the crime? It's like, dude, listen to the show. And I wouldn't be surprised, because actually I'll probably be in a hangout this weekend with the guy that you had your discussion with. I'm wondering what kind of earful I'm going to get there. I'd be kind of curious what I'll hear when I go online, and if he actually did listen to the show.
Oh, I'm sure he's not going to listen, because he doesn't want to listen to anything that doesn't support his view. That's
a possibility, or he's going to listen to it and then get it totally wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
Or maybe he'll get it right.
No, he won't get it right. I'm sorry, I've lost all hope of any of these people actually learning or listening or caring if what they believe is true. And that really should be all that matters, but, they're all religious. I'm really at the point right now where I don't want to be around people like that anymore. It's just too annoying.
But you can't give up. I've been beaten down enough times, and I'm like, but you can't give up. This show, and that's what I love about doing this podcast, is I'm hoping I'm reaching out to somebody that's, he's on, he's debating his religion, he's doubting, hey, come join us. We don't have the dogma, we don't have the oppression of a religion. We're still equally moral. There's nothing different between an atheist and a Christian. It's just that we don't go to church, and we don't believe in the invisible sky person, That's probably about the only difference between us and them.
Yeah, but there should be more. That's the problem I'm having, is that there isn't anything more, because we took the time, and most atheists who came away from a religion, they took the time to do their research, to look at religion. They said, I am going to find out if this is really true or not. And they did the work, and they came to a conclusion. But they're not willing to do any of the things they did with religion for anything else. They're going to do the same things that they did while they were religious to cling to feminism or anti-vax or whatever the hell they're doing. They're just not doing it towards religion. That's the
Right.
issue that I have, is that these people need to apply those skeptical rules and those skeptical tools to everything they've got in their life, and they're unwilling to do it.
And that's a shame. You're losing out. I mean, Bill Maher, that's definitely it. You're talking about Bill Maher. I mean, the guy, he's against religion, but he's or anti-vax, I'm sorry. You know, it's like, that I can't understand. But of course everyone fawns over Bill Maher because he's got a TV show on HBO. I mean, I think that's the only reason why he gets his award from whatever he got it from, you know.
I don't know. Maybe we just have to wait a couple more years until atheism as a group becomes more intelligent. Maybe that's just it.
Or push out because I just went through again, there's this neat lecture about lies that have been told about history. And there was this period and I gotta find out more, so I'm kind of sketchy here, but in 1890, there was this big switch. We were making great strides in race relations. Everything was going great, but the Southern Democrats were really strong, politically, and eventually started working against many of these race reforms. 1890, 1900 period, the Republicans who were fighting that gave up. Says, hey, we're tired of fighting. So next thing you know, from 1900 to almost today, race relations went backwards. Now we're recovering from what was lost 100 years ago. And I mean, I don't think we can afford to give up our, you know, with our arguments and, you know, this argument for atheism. Because if we give up, they win, you know, and that's what I'm hoping you would consider before totally giving up.
Oh no, I'm not giving up on atheism. I'm just giving up on the quote unquote community, because the community is just poison at this point.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm going to continue to debate the theists. I'm going to continue to, you know, convert people as I've always done.
Right.
But to be perfectly honest, I have no interest in being part of CFI or American Atheists or any of those groups, because I look at these groups, and I mean, I think that what they did with CFI was exactly the right thing. They basically told these feminists where to go shove it. And that's great, because that's exactly what all these groups need to be doing. All these conferences need to be telling these feminists who are going, we're not going to come talk at your conference if this person's invited because we don't like them. Fine, fuck you, don't come. That's what needs to happen. But
Definitely.
You know, right now that's not what's going on, and I think we need to get back to that, because it's just a mess.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, grow some balls, people, you know, and say, hey, we're an atheist organization. And, oh God, I'm contradicting myself. Play by our rules. I want to say, no, you can be whatever you want, but when you're an atheist, you're an atheist. Just be that, you know. Then when the atheism conference is done, you go to your feminist conference and be a feminist.
Yep.
That's what's got to happen.
And don't be asking CFI to fund your conference and pay for it and take all the risks if you're going to just sit there and bitch and whine about what goes on there. You don't like it? Go fund your own fucking conference.
Or do something about it yourself, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we should probably move on, because this is going to be a very, very, very long show at this point.
A very long. We're about an hour now.
Yeah.
I would say let's
go ahead and move on. All right, let's go ahead and get to the news. And now the news. All right, first story comes from a website called UFO Sightings Daily, and yes, I know that's not a very credible website, but a family from Kirkland, Ohio, got a supernatural shock over the weekend when they were looking over photos of their young daughter and noticed a familiar figure hovering near her. The girl had cancer, but it's since gone into remission. The father claims that the figure floating near his daughter is the Virgin Mary. Other people who've seen the photos suggest that it might be an alien. To me, It looks exactly like the kind of lighting artifact that you'd expect given the content of the pictures. True believers claim that this apparition cured her of cancer. But is that really a reasonable interpretation? What do you think?
Well, I know right off the bat, this is a situation of pareidolia with a photo anomaly, and your brain latches on to, and that's why some had latched on to the Virgin Mary, others latched on to the alien, and that's what they see in the picture. And I don't see it. I mean, I just see like this weird blob, and I'm seeing hundreds of these pictures, and it's the same thing, It's only when you kind of look at it and you there's like something weird in the picture, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a face. I'm not convinced whatsoever that this is any type of aberration or anything like that. This is just a photo anomaly that your brain constructed into a face.
Oh, sure. It's the same thing that happens on all those ghost hunter shows when they take pictures and there's just some blob at the end of the hall. It's not a ghost, guys. It's just an artifact of your camera.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen where, the flash, I should probably invest in a good SLR, camera. Because there's some neat stuff you can do. You can actually, I seen like in Skeptical Inquirer, they're showing there's these, pictures that look like beads that run across. And it's really, the flash, and there's the light bounces off something and then kind of does this reflection back, creating these light blobs, and basically, every professional photographer knows about this phenomenon, and Skeptoid did the thing on the rods.
Right.
And that's a photo issue with taking photos in low light with a flash. You'll see these flashes, or, you'll see this thing moving across the screen. It's not,
sure. Yeah, well, if you've even up in the shuttle, they used to take pictures of, it's not just the shuttle, but all the way back to the beginning of the space program out in space. They were taking pictures, and they were identifying all kinds of weird stuff in these pictures, and they're going, wow, it's UFOs. Well, no, it's ice. It's, crap. It's crap outside your, outside the space capsule. It's all these things that anybody with photographic background understands. But these people are going, I don't understand the physics behind it or the science behind it, so therefore I'm just going to identify these things as a UFO or as aliens or as
exactly
people shooting at each other and all this other garbage.
Right.
The funniest thing about this, well, I guess it's not even funny, but the thing about this story is they identify that the Virgin Mary or the alien or whoever it was actually cured the kid of cancer. But it says in the story that this thing happened just before she got her second bone marrow transplant. No, it wasn't the alien that cured her of cancer. It was science.
Yes.
Medical science is responsible for this, not imaginary friends.
Exactly. I mean, it's pretty obvious. You already had one bone marrow transplant, so it's probably already working. The second one clinched it. It's like it was the bone marrow transplant. It was the doctors that, did the procedure that did this. It had nothing to do with God.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more impressed if this spontaneous remission happened when there were no treatments happening at all.
Exactly.
Why does that not happen? Why is the God or aliens or whatever it is, why do these things not come and help, when science isn't already working on it?
Yeah.
And we do know that spontaneous remission happens. So, but you could make a case that, all right, we have identified some kind of weird source, and all of a sudden this cancer went into remission, or this person got well, or whatever. And even though you can't really discount the body just takes care of it, because it does, that would be more impressive than
being in treatment.
Well, I was going to say, it reminds me a lot of the people who claim that God saved them from traffic accidents, ignoring all the work done by the paramedics and the doctors and the nurses and modern medical technology and all that other stuff. But you don't see God, showing up on camera to perform any undeniable miracles. They're just placing the blame, or I guess the blame is for things on God when they can't prove that God had anything to do with it.
Right. I mean, God will save them from the car accident or after the car accident, but couldn't he have pushed the car out of the way or pushed the person out of the way before they got hurt?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why didn't you just stop me from having an accident to begin with?
Yeah.
And what about all the people who die in car accidents? Why isn't God taking care of those people?
I mean, just recently with those, there's a couple that they're going to jail because they denied, medical treatment to their kids. They prayed and prayed and prayed and nothing happened, and they ended up killing their children. It's like, can we get a clue here, people?
Yeah, I guess God was too busy taking care of this kid in Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah.
God's really kind of slow, He can only do so many things at once, so.
Right.
All right, do we want to move on to our next story?
Let's move on to our next story.
All right.
If you have in your bloodline any animus, any Native American blood, for instance, not all Native Americans worship the serpent or crocodile, many did, but you might want to renounce that and repent for that generational iniquity. If you are, perhaps you're Mexican, and you might have indigenous blood in you, or Mayan blood, those who might have Aztec blood anyway, you need to repent for the sin of animism before you begin to deal with this spirit, because it'll be very active in your bloodline. We know that some of the totem poles, even in the north of America, and the Virginias and places like that, would have the crocodile in their totem poles. So if in the totems there is a crocodile spirit, you can say that could be a very strong spirit of Leviathan operating in that area if it has not been dealt with as a territorial spirit.
Arrogant Christian televangelist tells Native Americans to repent for their ancestors. This is from Addicting Info News. Cindy Jacobs is the sort of Christian who gives ones who actually practice that faith a bad name. This is the woman who declared earlier this year that her shoes were a miracle from God because God is so concerned with how long her shoes last. But what was a harmless bit of arrogance? This latest from Miss Jacobs is insulting and obscene. In her latest installment of 10-Minute Prayer School, she spoke about the Leviathan spirit and how to defeat it. This spirit, according to Jacobs, is responsible for a lot of bad things: divorce, family feuds, sibling rivalries, church splits, and even tribal wars. Other evangelists explain this spirit as a demon. At any rate, this Leviathan spirit must be dealt with before it can be defeated. For some reason, Jacobs thinks that anyone with a Native American blood is particularly susceptible to this spirit. And, of course, what can you say about this one? This is just that general arrogance of these Christian evangelists who think that their God is better than everyone else's God,
Well, the problem is every theist thinks their God is better than everybody else's God. It doesn't matter which theist, if you go talk to the Hindus, their gods are better than everybody else's God. Well, it's just a bunch of dick swinging nonsense.
Exactly.
I think Jacobs, theists can get pretty crazy sometimes, and she's probably among the craziest. I'm just wondering if anybody out there actually takes her seriously, or is she the kind of theist that makes atheists laugh and Christians groan?
I really hope so, that it's the latter, but there's people who, we had that, the Mormons baptizing Holocaust victims so they can go to heaven. That whole arrogance of the importance of getting to heaven, seems to outweigh any type of decorum. I don't know if that's what struck me about this. And this general, follow me or you're going to hell. If you follow me, you'll go to heaven. If you don't, you're going to hell. No gray area in there at all. Follow me blindly.
Well, yeah, but you have to remember, religion by its very nature is arrogant. These are people who think they have a personal relationship with the creator of the universe, and he cares about them very much. It doesn't really matter where you go. Yeah, she's pretty blatantly, obnoxious about it, but I don't see where this is any more offensive than what people say about the Jews or the Muslims. I don't think it's any more offensive than what anybody says about any other religion anyway. But then again, I don't take any religion, no matter where it comes from, seriously. I think Native American beliefs are just as stupid as Abrahamic beliefs. It doesn't really matter which religion it comes to. It's all a crap pile.
It's for me, and then what strikes about this is, my invisible sky monster is better than your invisible sky monster attitude of these people. That's what strikes me about this, and that's what it seems to be all about. My God is better than your God. Nah.
Yeah, my God has a bigger dick than your God.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I honestly think people like this make atheism look good. I wish there were more people like this Jacobs chick and Pat Robertson and some of those others that just keep opening their mouths and make religion look even more crazy. These people are not doing their own case any good. They're just making themselves look like a bunch of morons. To be perfectly honest, do you think that people are getting pissed off at this because she's talking down to Native Americans, or if she had been saying the same things about the Jew? Well, the Jews are probably not a good example either because people get pissed off about that. But if she was talking about the Muslims and she was saying the Muslims need to repent for their ancestors, do you think people would be as upset with her as they are about this?
Actually, I'm starting to think, I would say it's probably the Native Americans because they've been pretty vocal of late. Actually, I just went through, I just listened to a lecture on, it was about history, but the American Indian has gotten the bad end of the stick here in this country. I mean, there's no doubt about that, and definitely, anyone poking at their religion, anything like that, they're gonna get shouted down. And I think this is probably, at least in this case, I think this is the case. The tribes are they don't want to hear this. I mean, she, as far as they're concerned, she's the interloper, not them,
Yeah, but I mean, I understand all that stuff, that they have a right to be pissed off and all that. But, from an atheist perspective, their religion is no better than her religion. Their religion is no better than the Jews or the Muslims or the Hindus or the Buddhists or anything else. They're all equally stupid, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's a true statement. It's, it's just that I think there's definitely been a very strong, at least in the Native American arena, that there's this very strong trying to get off our backs type of thing. You took our land from us, and I don't want to make it sound that simplistic, but we came over here, we forced our religion on them, we forced our Western stuff on them.
Hey, we didn't do anything, Kimosabe. Speak for yourself.
Well,
I had nothing to do with it.
I want to say I should be careful, but I know that's true. I mean, I didn't do it, you didn't do it, this lady didn't do it, but there's this, it's the mindset that we don't want this. We don't want you to, tell us, you bring your Western ways and tell us how we should be living our life. And I think maybe in general, if she said all atheists should repent, I'd be pissed off.
I bet she said that before too.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's number 2. That'll be her next video, probably.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be pissed off at her because I think she's just a worthless piece of shit. But Christians have forced their religion on atheists. If she had said the same thing about atheists, you probably wouldn't see a whole bunch of people standing up, screaming, yelling, and whining about it. The atheists would just go, whatever, and move on.
Yeah. And that's what I would hope, that's what I would hope that would happen. It's just like, what's this lady, she's happy that God, made her shoes last longer. It's like.
Yeah, that was a dumb story.
Yeah. It's like, come on, she's already proven her credibility, or showed her lack thereof.
Yeah, we know she's crazy. This lady is out of her frickin' mind, which is why I think she belongs in the same category as like Pat Robertson, friend of the show.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
But, I don't think she's really being taken seriously by a lot of people. I don't know. I just look at these people and go, you're just making your own side look bad, which of course makes our side look better. But I don't understand why anybody pays any attention to anything that comes out of her mouth. I sure don't.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a podcast to do, I wouldn't be talking about her.
Right. Yeah, it's the weird thing about just trying to think what could be the draw. Apparently she's got enough where she can do these videos. Of course anyone with a camera and a YouTube account can do a video.
I'm kind of curious how many people she has following her, and I haven't looked. I will try to look before I put the show up and kind of throw that in the show notes and put links. But
right.
I'm just kind of curious if she's just one of those people out in the wilderness screaming, or if she's one of those people who actually has a whole ton of followers and, she has some kind of a viewership. And I think that's kind of the saddest way to look at it at all.
Yeah.
People are actually taking this bitch seriously.
Yeah. And I'm afraid to say that, yeah, she's probably got a pretty decent following if she keeps this up. I mean, I don't know what kind of schedule I didn't really look too deep into the background of this lady, but, it's like, apparently she's been doing this for a year. I mean, if it's most of this year, she's been doing this for a while, and maybe she does, and I think that's sad, that people will believe this, follow her.
Yeah.
Or follow any of them for any matter, any of these televangelists and so on, it's like the bullshit that comes out of their mouths no one questions it. And maybe that's it. No one questions it. No one wants to question it. This is supposed to be the word of God that's coming from this, and I don't think she's
female. She can't be that Christian, right?
Right.
Because, females are not supposed to open their mouths and speak, right. According to the Bible.
Right. Except if you're an evangelist, then I guess it's okay.
Well, a lot of people would take serious issue with that, but hey, she's none too smart as it is.
Right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into the next story.
Well, it might be June, but folks at the state capitol today are getting ready for the holidays.
Today, Governor Perry signed legislation that will let teachers and students use greetings like Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah in schools. Those are members of the Lone Star Santa's Club. They came to the Capitol to give their backing on this bill. Supporters of the bill hope it will help school districts feel safe from lawsuits if they allow students and teachers to express religious views.
It's a shame that a bill like this one I'm signing today is even required. But I'm proud that we're standing up for religious freedom in this state.
We've had companies that we work for that tell us, when we're in the chair, we can't wish kids a Merry Christmas.
The Santas backed the bill because when businesses or schools are afraid potential lawsuits would kill their jobs, Santa's jobs, that is. The bill protects other traditional holiday symbols as long as more than one faith is reflected.
All right, this past week, Texas Governor Rick Perry signed into law a bill which proposes to protect Christmas and other holiday celebrations in Texas from legal prosecution. It aims to protect the display of religious symbols in school classrooms so long as more than one faith is represented and secular symbols are also present. Now, I've got no problem with that. After all, Christmas hasn't been a particularly religious holiday for a long time. We might as well have a Christmas tree and Christmas decorations during Christmas. I've never really been a fan of calling it holiday decorations and a holiday tree and the like anyhow. Is this really necessary, or is it just another case of religion blowing smoke?
My thought is, do we really need a law to protect these things? Yeah, I mean, Texas has been big on religious symbols. They've been, their school board, their statewide school board, it's like almost over half, or was over half, Christian fundamentalist type. In one way, I kind of expect Perry to bring these, put these laws, do this kind of stuff. I really hope that somebody takes offense to it, and if you're dealing with Christian symbols as opposed to, let's say, wreaths and Christmas trees are, I guess, non-denominational, or maybe whatever. Christmas tree seems to be kind of universal here in the States. Wreaths, that type of stuff, lights and things like that. But if it has like crosses or angels or something like that, that can be construed as endorsing a religion, which is of course prohibited by the First Amendment. So then hopefully someone should then fight it.
Well, the problem is the way this law is written. It says that you can have religious symbols in the school classroom, but you cannot just have the symbols of one religion. You have to have multiple religions, and you also have to have secular symbols. which is entirely fine. So you can have your Christian stuff, you can have your Hanukkah stuff, you can have your Kwanzaa stuff, you can have, all this stuff, and they're not endorsing any single religion. Wow, what exactly is this going to protect? I mean, it's not illegal to say Merry Christmas now. That was really his big thing, was he's trying to protect people saying Merry Christmas. Well, they can say Merry Christmas all they want till they're blue in the face. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference.
Right. I mean, I'm just thinking, there's going to be someone who's going to be offended. I mean, you'll put all those symbols up, and then someone forgets the spaghetti monster symbols, so then everything kind of breaks down. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is it's a waste of legislation.
Most legislation is a waste of legislation.
Yeah, I mean, but this is definite. There's bigger issues in Texas than I think protecting Christmas symbols and stuff like that. I mean, that's something like a proclamation, or you do something like that. Hey, or whatever, an executive order, or whatever they got in Texas. Please don't mess with Christmas symbols. And leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're vastly overestimating the religious nature of Christmas. Do you have a religious Christmas? A religious Christmas isn't about trees and presents and Santa Claus and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's all entirely secular. It's all about Jesus. But the overwhelming majority of Americans, religious or not, they celebrate a secular Christmas, not a religious one. I think that, right. It's just Rick Perry trying to play to his base, going, see, I tried. Okay, you just wasted taxpayer money. That's all you've done.
Or looks like to me that there's so much religion going on down there, and they're trying to. I mean, they've been attacking. They've attacked science. They've tried to get, bring the intelligent design. I mean, in 2010, the chairman of the school board that was going to be selecting textbooks. I mean, he was a young Earth creationist. I mean, he believes the world started in 6,000 years ago. I mean, he teaches Sunday school, and he got in trouble during the science when they were selecting science books. Then they turned around and started doing the history, and they started butchering history all to shreds. I mean, and this is all had to do with religion, trying to insert religion, try to remove anything non-religion or minimalize it. I mean, it was just, and that's just the schools. I wonder where, I'm wondering where else, that they've been, what other boards and legislatures and, town hall, all that kind of stuff. What are they all doing in their town? I mean, you could probably let Texas secede from the Union and we wouldn't miss them, because it's almost like almost like Iran. It's a theocracy down there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rick Perry, he knows where his bread is buttered. When he was running for president, he found out that outside of Texas, nobody cares about what he wants to do. But inside Texas, 99% of his electorate are a bunch of southern redneck dumbasses who, as long as he's put Scott, he slaps Scott on the side of it, they're going to vote for it. He knows how he's going to get reelected.
Yeah, that's the way they do it. I mean, that's the way you do it. You appeal to you're trying to appeal to the biggest group you can, and if it ends up being conservative Christians, or ultra-conservative, I should say, then you go for it, and that's where you get this goofy government down there,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think most states have the same kind of goofy government. It's just, the demographic down there is redneck, hick, ultra-fundamentalist idiot. Right. And so, he knows where his food's coming from. He knows where his votes are coming from, so he knows who to placate. And I think that's really all this bill is he's just placating them and saying, see, I share your values.
Yeah. He probably didn't get something that they wanted passed, so hey, let's get this passed so they can forget that, hey, we didn't get the school prayer law or whatever he may have been trying earlier on. But hey, we got this. Hey, okay, cool.
Yeah, this that does nothing for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I voted for Kodos,
Probably would have been better than what we got.
Yeah.
All right, well, you want to grab that last story?
Let's grab that last story from the Religious News Service. International Criminal Court dismisses abuse claims against the Vatican. Vatican City, a campaign to hold former Pope Benedict. Oh, what's his number?
Who cares? 15. I don't know.
Pope Benedict, responsible for crimes against humanity, floundered on Thursday, June 13th, as the International Criminal Court in The Hague threw out the case filed by victims of clergy sex abuse. The case had been presented in September 2011 by SNAP, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, and New York-based Center for Constitutional Rights, accusing the Pope and other senior Vatican officials of failing to stop abusive priests. According to a SNAP statement, the court's prosecutor's office said on May 31st that the file presented against the leaders of the Roman Catholic Church does not meet the preconditions of the court and thus do not appear to fall within the court's jurisdiction. So, basically trying to get the Vatican to account for their pedophile priests. People are trying everything to do this, and they're not getting it. I mean, yeah, crimes against humanity, you might be pushing it a little bit, and apparently that was the opinion. But again, these people are not getting justice, and I think they deserve it. I think it's just a travesty, I think.
Well, as much as I hate to say it, in this particular case, I probably do agree with the court.
Yeah.
I mean, Benedict, as much as a dick as he is, he's not personally responsible for the actions of every single priest in the church. He just isn't.
Right.
He's not responsible for all the dioceses. He's not responsible for anybody who's moved around priests. And no one has produced any evidence that he has personally molested any children or that he has personally, actually, there's one case where he may have personally moved a known pedophile priest himself. But for the most case, he's innocent of actually doing any of these actions. So you really can't sue him for what other people do.
Right.
You just like you can't sue, the CEO of a company because their janitor went out and robbed a bank. It's not his problem. It's not his fault. That said, I'd like to see charges brought against the Vatican, but they've got to be solid charges. They need to be charges that will stick.
Right. Oh, that's it. I mean, they got to find something. I mean, here in the United States, they're not getting justice. I mean, here, this is definitely, this was a stretch. I mean, they were stretching and trying to get something. I mean, they went and tried to get crime against humanity type of thing, and the court said, no, this doesn't qualify. So,
well, it doesn't. That would never fly.
Well, that's what the court said. I mean, it doesn't qualify. So, we have to reject this. I mean, you can tell that these people are desperate, though. I mean, they want to do something. They got to. I really think that the Vatican, is there a way to sue them or something like that? And
you can sue the Vatican. You just need to, just like you can sue anybody. You could sue the President of the United States. You could sue, any world leader. You just have to find the charge that's going to stick. And that's going to be really, really hard because you don't have any actual evidence that they've done anything wrong, that they've personally done anything wrong. And you can't go in and get records because you don't have any jurisdiction to go into a sovereign nation, which is what the Vatican is, and get records from them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking I'm thinking this on terms of getting these people some justice. They could do something, and it's going to take time, and this is what we're seeing. It's taking a long time, and I guess in all honesty, the Vatican itself, the Pope and his entourage, they're not going to admit to anything, and they probably don't know or don't even they never had they weren't physically responsible. I mean, I would think that there should be some responsibility, but it's probably like, I don't know.
Well, you need to show that they have direct knowledge of the acts before they happen and they did nothing. That's really hard to prove. You can't really prove that culpability.
Right.
Now people are getting shitloads of money out of the Catholic Church. $6 billion so far. No, it doesn't really make up for being molested as a kid, but, certainly the Vatican is hurting. The Catholic Church is hurting. They've had 6 dioceses in the U.S. go bankrupt. They've had multiple dioceses overseas go bankrupt.
Right.
You're not getting into the trillions of dollars of gold that they've got sitting in the Vatican, and you probably never will. But you can't. I don't think that they're ever going to be able to get that any more than they could sue the U.S. and get the money in Fort Knox.
Right.
Right. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, it would take so long. Anytime you try to go after the government, it just takes forever. This one guy I was talking to, and he said, yeah, he'd been suing a police department here in Illinois. And it was almost like 15 years before they finally said, okay, we'll settle. Here's the, because it was over a couple $1,000, had to do with a car accident and, whatever. And it was like, but it took them 15 years. It would have been nice to see something like that happen, but, I guess we gotta wait.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're going to eventually come up with evidence that Benedict or Francis or whoever has actually been personally responsible for either molesting children or for, commanding all the churches not to report them or for whatever.
Right.
And then you can get them into, if you get to that level, you can start going for conspiracy charges. Those will stick. Yep. But you got to have a lot of evidence, and the ICC is not going to go for any of those charges unless you've got a ton of evidence. Yeah. Unless you've got a ton of evidence to back it up.
Right.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see all churches have that problem. The Southern Baptists, they need to be shut down. The Jews, they need to be shut down. But you really can't shut down the Jews, even though they have just as many pedophile rabbis as everybody else does. You can't shut down the Buddhists. You can't, you just can't go after the higher echelons without, being able to prove that they are actually responsible for the actions that are going on.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Wishful thinking aside, I agree that this was not the case that they needed to go after, but keep trying. It doesn't hurt.
It was a good shot. You gotta, at least pat them on the back for trying,
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But I could have told them before they ever took this to the court. And, in the article, the Vatican spokesman says, well, we knew this would never go anywhere. Yeah, I would have told them it's not going anywhere. How many millions of dollars did they spend on this pointless case?
Right.
I'd rather they saved their money and went when they had something instead of just saying, we got to try something and send something up that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because after a while, it looks kind of petty. If you just keep filing case after case after case after case and they're all shoddy or all faulty, eventually you start looking pretty bad because you're just trying to screw somebody. You're not trying, you don't actually have anything to go after them with.
Right.
So hopefully in the future they are going to find something better, and I will support them completely when they do.
Oh, yeah.
But not until.
Not until.
All right. I think that's all the time we have this week. We've gone long. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with a new show. Everybody, please tell your friends about us, and we'll see you all then. Take care. You've been listening to the Bitchspot Report with your host, Cephus. You can follow me on Twitter at Bitchspot1. Please check out our podcast website at report.jdragononline.com. You can watch our podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/The Bitchspot Report. We're also available on iTunes. The link is at our site. Please subscribe and rate us. It really helps us a lot. We'll be back next week for another fact-filled episode of The Bitchspot Report. Please tune in again.